Hello, I'm Nobby Clark. Welcome to my workshop. I'm going to start another little project making a fairly small parts, which shouldn't be too difficult to make, I hope. I've shown this accessory that I made quite a number of times in the past. It's called a finger plate, and one of its functions is to be able to put round bar stock in this groove here, and then use this part with drill guides to guide the drill through the dead centre of the item. When I made this, I only made one guide at the time, and I made this in a quarter inch size, imperial size, but I realised that there are going to be occasions when I'm going to need to be able to drill metric sized holes as well. So the project is basically to make some more of these little devices. This time I'm going to make them on the Chinese mini lathe. I know it will cope with making these very well, because the mini lathe is capable of producing very accurate work, and it hasn't really been getting a great deal of use recently, so I think it's a good idea to occasionally put that back into use again. You'll see sort of one problem I'll mention that I encounter with that one is things that the Chinese mini lathe, it is actually a metric version, that they are made in imperial versions as well, but this one just happened to be a metric one. So I'm mostly working in imperial measurements, so what I'm going to have to do is try and sort of convert measurements from metric to imperial while I do it. So I hope you'll join me for this little project. I hope it's going to be interesting, seeing a bit of lathe work. So without a further ado, let's get on with it. quite a bit to come off this. This is 5/8 of an inch bar stock, and I've got to bring it down to, it's just I think about 5/1000 over half an inch in diameter. This is just basically the cut to sort of just face off the material to get a sort of try and get a sort of a nice surface to this first, and then I've got to bring the diameter back to just a fraction over ½ inch in depth here. So I'll bring it down nearer to size and then bring you back. We're getting very close to size now. Let's take a measurement. I reckon I reckon I'm about 9 thou out, so I'm going to try about 4 thousandths more off, but then it's going to be a matter of doing a sort of creeping up on it and doing a test fit in here. The one I previously made off camera, basically to check out using the mini lathe to do sort of very accurate turning, which I know it's capable of, to get a sort of a nice fit. You don't want a fit that's going to jam that in place, but a nice sort of close fit to it. The length I'm making this is not critical. It doesn't particularly have to be that long, but reasonable length really, to make sure that you're holding the drill nice and straight. This one I made with a hole through this already. This is for a 5mm drill, which I suppose comfortably is almost the largest size that you'd want to use on the finger plate anyway. But what I want to do is to make a couple of these which are not drilled through yet. I'm going to put a sort of centre drill in here and make a reference mark ready for sort of future machining. The idea being that whenever the job crops up that I need to drill through the centre of a piece of work, I can then, if it's not 5mm, I can then drill it for the size that I'm going to use straight away. So let's sort of take some more very, very light cuts. Problem I've got basically is that this is a metric drill, a metric lathe, so in a way I'm having to sort of guesstimate the thousandth positions. On the I don't know if you can, yeah, you can just about see it. You have got some calibration here on a sort of a resettable dial, and the calibrations you've got here are metric measurements, 0.025 of a millimetre. So it shows here, well, you won't be able to see this, but it does show also the measurement for a thousandth. So I'm just estimating that by eye against the divisions on here to give me that sort of a thousandth scale. So what I did when I made this one is literally I just made some very, very light cuts on this until I got a suitable fit. So basically that's what I'm going to do now. I'll just do one cut, and then off camera I'll bring it exactly the size, because making very, very light cuts, you've got to keep repeating it over and over and over again until you get the sort of fit you want. So it's obviously going to take a bit of a bit of time to do, but let's see how we progress. So I'm going to move this on as a guesstimation of about 2 thousandths. So I've got a little bit more to go, but I'll bring you back for that, save making this video far too long. Well, by my reckoning, I'm sort of exactly there, but that's not to say that the part's actually going to fit. Let's give it a try anyway and see how, if it goes on. Yeah, that's it. That fits. You probably can't even see that, can you? Well, you can see it's going on, so I reckon that's okay. There's not really any wiggle room there at all, but for measuring the one I'd already made, I reckoned I was 5 thousandths over the ½ inch, which I am there. So 5 thousandths over the ½ inch, and that's a perfect fit really for what I want. So there's obviously some other operations to carry out. Well, we've got to do a little centre drill here as my reference. It has just a gentle chamfer here, just as a sort of if you like a lead in. I'll need obviously to chamfer. Well, just got to clean up that little corner there. There's a little bit of a roll over in there. If I could just clean that up, I'd do a little chamfer here, and then cut. Well, I'm going to cut it off rather than part it off, because when I was trying to part this part off, the lathe just didn't seem to like any of the cutting tools that I was trying, I've got to sort of play around with that a bit more. I've not had any problems parting off brass or aluminium on this, but this is steel, so perhaps that was just a little bit too much for this little lathe to cope with. I don't know, but anyway, I'll clean that edge up and chamfer that, and then sort of try and bring you back for the this little oh, quite a big chamfer here as well. The next job, I'm going to put just a centre drill in here, as I mentioned, just as a sort of a reference point for future drilling. This all sort of come out quite nice. I've just broken the edge on that little shoulder there and made sure I've got a little bit of an undercut in here as well, so that it will seat nicely into position on the finger plate. One small problem with the mini lathe is that if you're using a drill chuck with a conventional Morse taper mount on it, that you use up a lot of the quill length to actually seat it into position. And when I discovered this very early on, well, not long after I got the mini lathe, so to give me more quill travel, I use this. This is a, I think it says on here, a B16 taper, Morse taper 2, was to slice one end of this off. If I don't do that, as I say, you use up such a lot of the travel of the quill to enable you to, in fact, about halfway along the markings on the quill here, it starts ejecting the drill chuck straight away. But with this one now, I can bring it almost all the way in before it ejects the chuck, which obviously is much better, because failing that, you obviously lose a lot of travel, and you can't drill very deeply into the workpiece. So this is a sort of, I think this might have been the chuck that came with it. I can't really remember now. That's not the key, is it? That's the chuck. Here we are, that's the one. So we just open this up so I can get the centre drill in. Lock that in place just to give me actually that's not in properly. That's better. Make sure it's locked in tightly. You can bring the a bit closer, and I'm bringing up my little additional stop at the back here, so that I don't think this will push it backwards, but just in case it does, so we can do a little mark in the end here now. I'm not going to take that in too deep, because obviously no idea at this stage what size hole I'm going to be making in it, so obviously I don't want to make that too large, just to be on the safe side. But that gives me a reference point when this goes back in the chuck again to drill through. So next job is to cut this little chamfer across the side here, and I'll try and bring you back when I've got it set up to do that. Well, I've got the chamfering tool set up in the tool post, and I've tried to angle this to set the same angle that I had on the one I made the other day. Let's just hope this is gonna work okay. I've had to move the top sliding quite a bit, because where I've got this little tray here to catch the chips, that was hitting the back of the headstock. So I hope I'm sure I've got enough travel to do this. So let's see how we get on. Hope this doesn't screech in protest too much. Well, I think that's okay. It's about the same depth as the other one I've got. It was screeching a bit and chattering a bit, but I think bring it in very gently. I've removed that now, so I think that's going to be okay. Let's bring this right back out the way. It does look okay. What I'm going to do is just use a bit of Scotch-Brite on the end there to see if I can blend that a little bit nicer. Yeah, I think that's okay. I've not got any sharp edges there, so basically that part of it is done. I mean, if I was obviously there'd be another process here before I take it out of the chuck if I was going to drill a hole, but at the moment I don't know what other sizes I'm going to need, so I'll remove it from the chuck and just manually saw this off, and then I can put it back in the other way around and just bring this to length. Just something to actually just show you. On the other ones that I already have, as I mentioned, I think that all the other ones I have are in imperial sizes. This one I've marked that as an 1/8. And on these, when I made them, because these were actually made for an entirely different tool, but I adapted these when I made the finger plate. Perhaps at the end I'll show you the tool that these were originally made for. The plan said to put a knurl round the top here, which obviously gives you a means of gripping it to get out of this particular tool they were made for, and you'll see why. But for these, I don't need that, because as the parts drop in, they can literally be pushed from the bottom, and when I can obviously grip them to get them out, they're not going to get stuck in there. So I've not bothered with a knurl around the top here. I don't think it's necessary at all. So anyway, I'll cut this off to length, and then I'll bring you back just to bring this down to sort of finished size, although the measurement here and across here are not critical. I've tried to make them so that they are the same size as the original ones I made. I made 4 of these in all different metric sizes. But anyway, I'll bring you back for that part. I said earlier that I'd made several of these before, and that they were metric, but in fact I did also previously say they were imperial, which they were. I'd made them in, as I'd mentioned, where is it? An 1/8 inch. There is a 3/8 of an inch one, and there are actually 2 1/4 inch ones. I've made an additional one of these. I think it probably was this one when I made the finger plate, because I thought, well, I'll leave this one with the finger plate, and then I can always pull the other ones out. But I had got these all in the box with the tool that these were originally made for, which I will show you later. So just so you can see where these parts originally came from. I'm going to have a try first at parting this off, because I was very disappointed that I couldn't part the steel off before, and the 2 tools I tried was this one with a fairly heavy parting blade. This is the same type of parting blade that I use most of the time, in fact, on the Myford lathe. And I also tried this one, which is a much finer parting blade. I use this one quite a lot for small diameter pieces of steel. But what I'm going to try and use this time is the one that's actually in the tool holder at the moment. And this is an additional one that I had with the Myford lathe, but this one I had mounted obviously upside down in the rear tool post. But this one has little, if you can see that clearly, little replaceable carbide tips, which are double-ended. So once one end wears, you can just switch them around. So I'll give this a try. If it doesn't work, then, as I say, I'll revert to just hacksawing this off, so that I can then face the other end of this piece. I've got the camera mounted in a slightly better position this time. I did realise when I reviewed the earlier sequences that I did that really the camera was, I suppose, a little bit too far away, and you probably couldn't easily see what I was doing. and there were certain bits where I was showing that the part I'd originally made, and I realised what I was showing you was slightly out of frame, sort of up here somewhere, so you probably couldn't even see what I was trying to show. So I do apologise for that. I wasn't really checking on the camera screen what I was doing really, but there you go. So let's have a go and see whether I can part this off. Obviously I've got to run the lathe quite a bit slower for this operation, but we'll just see how we get on this time. No, I don't think it's liking it. You could probably see it's vibrating the tool post a bit too much. A bit too much side pressure, I think. So I'm not going to carry on with this. As I say, it's in the past it's been perfectly okay with slightly softer materials. I'll cut this off with the hacksaw and then bring you back for the final part of facing the other end off. I put the part, I've obviously cut it off now, and I've put the part back in the chuck, and I've put a bit of soda can round the back of it for the jaws to grip onto, so that I don't mark up the metal too much. Sorry, I wasn't able to use the parting tool to do that particular job. I mean, I do like this little tool holder. It is very, very quick to use. When I got it, it was well, when I got the lathe rather, many years back now in 2016. This was probably about the cheapest one there was on the market, and at the time, and I couldn't really afford at that point to spend any more money on one of these, but I realised that obviously this just isn't man enough for the job really. It's much too lightweight really, when the whole thing's made out of aluminium. When I got my Myford lathe, it already came with a Dixon style tool holder anyway, which is immensely strong, and I've never had any problems with that at all. So I guess it would be nice one day to be able to replace this. You know, what I've always had my eye on is one that a lot of other people use, is the style of tool post that it's, I think, a sort of copy of one of the American style ones. Not one that has the little plunger in here. They do one that has down the sort of sides here has a wedge, and from looking at other YouTube channelers, that the wedge type seems to be the best one to go for, and of course they're all made out of metal. The tool holders are also made out of steel, where on mine, the ones I got with it were aluminium as well, and all the ones I made were aluminium. So that, yeah, perhaps maybe one of the many things that I'd like to have, but I don't know when that's ever going to happen. But anyway, I've already faced a bit of it off, because I cut this back with a hacksaw quite generously, so there would have been a lot to fill machining this off. So perhaps, you know, one or two light passes now we'll actually finish that off and then just put a little chamfer on the back, and basically the part's finished. Yeah, I think that's okay. Just put a chamfer in there as well. Even repositioning the camera, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm sure you know what I'm doing anyway. Something else I'm going to do, where I realised, I guess you spotted there's a mistake that I've made, is of course I put a centre drill in on the other side, but of course having it on that side obviously is going to make that difficult to remount, or this piece remount back in the chuck to drill the hole through. Really, it should have the centre drill on this side, although it could still be put in by putting it really at the back of the chuck, so that part, that little shoulder, falls behind the chuck jaws, but just makes it unnecessarily difficult to do that. So I'll do this off camera, because you saw me doing the centre drill on the other end, so I'll just do that part off camera. So I think basically the job is finished now. I'm sort of quite pleased with how that came out. I was very pleased on how this piece turned out as well. You know, it's come out quite nice. So I'll break away from this now, and we'll just have a sort of a closer look at this on the bench with just a couple of other things to mention. Well, these are the parts that I've made. This one I made actually yesterday I made this, and today I've made another one which hasn't been drilled yet for any specific drill size. Wait for that to crop up when ever required. And as I mentioned, I have put a centre drilled hole in that side. There's one on both sides now, so obviously that will align everything up and give me a starter point for whichever drill is required. And as I mentioned, that when I made the finger plate, I made it I designed the idea of this particular one myself, but this followed a design of one available in kit form, where you can put the piece of round material in here to cross drill it in whichever size required. But I made it with a sort of well, just a fraction. It was a ½ inch hole in here, but of course the ½ inch hole came out slightly oversized. That's why these are about 5 thou over ½ inch. And I mentioned that when I made this, I made it to use also these imperial size ones, which were made for a different tool altogether. And this is the tool. I'm pretty sure I've shown this before. This was made from one of the Hemingway kits, and the kit was actually given to me by an old friend of mine that said he was never gonna, he bought it some years back apparently, and said he was never going to make this himself. So this fits onto the Myford lathe where the tool post goes. So the pin of the tool post goes through here, and that's locked in place. And you see it has a V groove along here, so that round material can be popped into place. I'm going to move that one out the way as well, so that round material can be put into here and held in place with this little clamp, so that would hold it in position. This one acts basically, that can be swung round and acts as a if you like an end stop, so that material, everything's rolling off the counter, so that putting stock through here, you can position this wherever you require it as an end stop. And this is the device which takes the drill guide. So dependent on the diameter of the material, this can be moved in and out and locked into position. And then any of these drill guides can be popped in there, so that once this is in the Myford tool post, that can be brought along, or sort of turn around this way actually. That can be brought along, and you would have your drill in the chuck of the Myford lathe, so you can then drill a hole sort of right the way through into the material itself. And you've got, obviously, I don't know if you, let's see if I've got that in. You see you've got a clearance hole in here as well. And if you can see it, I'm trying to look in the back of the camera as well. Yeah, so you've got a clearance hole there as well. Additionally, there's also this device. If you're having to drill through very, very small diameter material, this can be inserted through this block, so that this part comes into the V groove. So that would go through the back here, and you see that comes, can you see, let's have a look. Yeah, it comes into the V groove, so the material would pass through that little hole there, and then the little threaded part at the back can be used to pull the material back into the V groove. So it's quite a good tool, this. Very, very nice kit to build this was. I really enjoyed making this. Actually, quite a number of years ago I made this, and you get all the parts you need with the kit. The only parts that are sort of ready-made were these imperial size nuts on here. I think this is quarter fine, but you make all the every other part. You make the studs, everything you make yourself. Obviously the washers are supplied, the washers and the nuts, but you could make those yourself. The top one here would have been made out of steel also, but I opted to just for a change basically to make this out of brass. So there's a lot of different interesting processes in making this. You know, cutting little grooves on here, making all the little toe clamps. The toe clamp here that's got the slot in it. Great fun making that. I was very grateful to be given that, and my friend was obviously very, very kind in giving me that. So I made at the time the 3 guides, 1/8 quarter and 3/8, and the other one was one that I actually made when I initially made this. So that was sort of part of the kit, and of course this has your little toe clamp that fits on there to hold the material in place. Anyway, so these are 2 extra ones for this. So I've got a 1/4 inch, I've got a 5mm one there, and this one whichever size I need at the time. Well, that was another interesting little project to make, and fun to do it on the Chinese mini lathe rather than on the Myford lathe. I think some of the operations would have been a little bit easier on the Myford because that is an imperial lathe, and I tend, wrongly or rightly, to work in imperial measurements most of the time because I just personally find it a little bit easier to relate to thousandths of an inch than working in metric. Basically, I forgive myself for this by being all my schooling being in imperial measurements, and I've been working for, oh goodness, quite a number of years. I left school in 1963, and it wasn't until I think 1972 that the UK went metric. So I'm going to forgive myself that. Anyway, thanks for joining me in the workshop again, and thanks also for all the nice comments I'm receiving, making contact with quite a lot of extra people through my YouTube channel now, which is really nice, and getting some sort of nice feedback from people as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the little adventure of making these parts. Simple as they are, they were good fun to machine, and the slight struggle of relating the metric size to the imperial size, but then obviously my micrometer here is imperial, whereas I've got the imperial and metric micrometers, but this is quite a nice one to use. This is one I picked up not very long ago, and at a very, very reasonable price actually. It seems that not very many people want to buy imperial micrometers now, so quite often these crop up quite inexpensively, and I bought this specifically because this is one made by Starrett, and when I tend to use Minotaur micrometers most of the time, but I don't own any micrometers made by Starrett. This is made by Starrett UK, so it was made by their factory in Scotland. It has on here Ellis Starrett Great Britain on here, but this one was in such beautiful condition. It came with the little in the little glasses case and in the original red Starrett box as well, so I'm quite pleased to have that. And also it has a 10th scale on it as well, which is also very useful. So I love micrometers. I've got a few of them. I seem to have built up a bit of a collection of them, but I switch from different ones on different days in the workshop basically. So anyway, there we are. That's me. Have another video for you hopefully very, very soon. So thank you very much for joining me again. Bye bye for now.